What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. You can like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel at Jack O'Hara TV. We are back live at Blue Wire Studios at the Wynn in Las Vegas, Nevada. Episode 614 of the podcast with the one, the only...
Johnny D. Domenico.
Johnny D. Domenico. I was going to say
Hello,
the Johnny
ladies.
Show,
How
gracing
are you?
us with his presence. Everybody walking by, waving. He's Donald Trump. He's Austin Powers. I saw he did the Tiger King once.
Yes, that was
Morgan
fun.
Freeman, Jack
Morgan
Nicholson, you name it.
Yes, any voice I hear, I try to get in there and pull it out. But obviously Trump is probably the most well known at this point. I have to tell you.
You've been doing it for like 20 years.
Along with that, I started doing impressions when I was 5. But Trump I started when I was
like
2004, and I think one of the reasons I got so lucky that I was, so much of life is right place, right time.
Yeah.
And I had been doing him since 2004, and when he announced, and I had a pretty good run with him. I was doing a lot of corporate stuff and voiceover for commercials and all these different things. I did a movie, those parody movies, A Date Night. And I did a couple of those. And but when he announced June of 2016, like right place, right time, and I got a buddy of mine had just taken over on Red Eye for Fox News. Red Eye. Greg Gutfeld had just left, and his name was Tom Shalhoub, and we used to do stand-up together in New York. You and I were talking about New York pre-show, so I did theater with him and stand-up with him, and he was like, "Hey, you want to be the Trump on my show?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, sure." And I did a couple of those, and I was seen by some of Conan's writers, and then I joined Conan's staff, not staff. I don't want to oversell it, but I ended up doing like 52 appearances on the show. So that was very, very cool. I was a jobber, folks. I was just a jobber. Whenever they need me, they would bring me in.
Jobber. That's a wrestling term for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of the bum that they bring in. But I'm not going to define you that way.
No.
How is it working with Conan? I've heard mixed things from a few different guests.
I have to say, I think he's absolutely one of the nicest guys. Every time I was on the show, I got to speak with him. I did the Comic-Con shows, which were incredible. If we did a call-in, he was on the phone with me. So he was really, really nice to me. And there's a lot of people that go through his show. He likes to have people that he knows. Once I got in, like I said, I was on the show 52 times. Check IMDb, you can see it. But he likes to work with the same people, and he has a really great repertory group. And he was always super nice to me. And just, because when you pick up the phone and you do, and I'm on Stern and I'm on a bunch of other shows, when you pick up the phone, you're thinking it's the producer or the engineer or whatever. And when it's Conan, it's pretty mind-blowing, because that guy has a lot of responsibilities. So it was really nice. And on stage, we would do the sketch. We were doing the shows at Comic-Con. We were at the Sparkles Theater, 3,000 people. It's huge. But when we were rehearsing in the afternoon, and I would come out as Captain Make America Great Again. And we would do the sketch, and then we'd take a break, and he would edit on the fly. He's got his guitar, and he'd go, cut this out, move this, move that. And you can see why he is so incredibly funny. He's an amazing comedian, but he's a great comedic editor. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why his show was so successful and why he's so funny.
Mm-hmm. He's funny. He seems the most genuine out of any late-night talk show host that there was.
Yeah.
Jay Leno was good.
Yeah, Jay Leno. How are you? Good to see you.
I think there's a lot of people that'll say Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel. Some people love them. Some people despise those guys.
I met Kimmel twice. I've worked on his show a couple of times. But he was, again, very nice to me. So, and there was no firewall. Like when I'm so lucky. I've done about 32 appearances now on Howard Stern. I've only got to talk to Howard once though, but he's kind of intimidating. So when he was on, hey, how are you? He's all business, man. There's the one thing with Conan, hey, how are you? How you doing? How's it living in Las Vegas? How's this stuff? He's very in the moment, and he's kind of like he's very avuncular in that fashion. With Howard, it's very like, let's do it. And I get it. He's under a lot of pressure. you
Even
know?
like 30 plus years later being on the air,
Yeah.
You think he'd like loosen up? Like you're already considered the greatest interviewer of all time.
Yeah.
Dude.
He is a great interviewer. I think right now, like the show is so much money at stake and it's so big. I can't imagine the pressure when he's on air. He's obviously very cool, but I cannot imagine like that pressure. He's one of the highest paid entertainers of all time.
Yeah.
So, and maybe he doesn't give a shit. I don't know.
Part of him doesn't, and that's part of his lore, right? He didn't give a shit for so many years. I think he's got fined the most out of anybody in like Sirius XM history for things that he did. And he's just like, yeah, keep throwing money that way. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue being me.
You remember my favorite? You saw Private Parts.
Yep.
My favorite part was the analyst who came in and said the average Howard Stern listener listens for 2.5 hours. So like, that's great. Well, thank you very. No. Hold on. There's more. The average Howard Stern hater listens for the entire show. And I thought that's his success. People would be listening who hated him. His hate listeners were so big,
It's crazy. And then he's got Robin too, who's seems like the nicest lady in the world.
Yeah, and
right?
she's like glue. I mean, I think like she's the glue of the show. And the very first time I was on was March 3 years ago. March 3 years ago. And you log into a Zoom call because by then it was already COVID. And oh no, it had to be later. So you log in, I'm on the Zoom call, and like there's Howard, there's Robin, and there's me. I was like, this is the coolest, because I've been listening to him since the late 80s. Because my brother lived in Long Island, we go visit him, and then we'd drive down and lose the signal. But it was really amazing. It's like a dream come true.
It's crazy to think that you've only met him once too.
Yeah, it is. But when you're on the air, man, like you're flowing with them and it's great. And I get all the communications through my producers who I work with on the show. And like, Howard really liked it today. So I was like, thank God.
I know, right?
Can I come back? And they call you and like, you're coming back again. And like, yes. And I have a friend who's on the show too, Piot. He's the one who does George Takei and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jeff Goldblum and Captain Kirk. So he does all those voices, and he's been on for quite a while. And he's an amazing impressionist, comedian. You get to work with all these incredibly talented people, which elevates your game.
Do you know the exact number of impressions you can do?
At one point it was like 100, but so many of them now, no one knows.
It's like repetition too. It's like you stop doing one, then you kind of lose it.
Yeah, you kind of lose it. You have to go back. It was just when I went to do Captain Kirk, I was like, I'm a little rusty on that. Don't pull that out right now. But as a kid, I was doing a lot of voices, and it was funny because people like Lieutenant Columbo, which most people don't know who he is. Folks, I hate to bother you. I loved his voice. I love the graveliness of the voice and how you can kind of take your voice and push it down and make it all crunchy, And then you do somebody else like Austin Powers, baby, and it's a lot purer.
It's crazy. That's honestly, that and Trump are the two I think that are my favorite of yours.
Yeah, they're probably the ones I do the most. Years ago, when I was doing him all the time, People Magazine did a really nice story, and it's nice to be recognized for what you do. But when Trump came along, I was like, holy mackerel! I was just blown away, blown away.
We were talking like right before we came on about Mike Myers. Could you imagine if Chris Farley was Shrek?
Yeah, it
would have been completely different.
But it would have been a totally different film. Totally. But the beauty of Chris Farley was he was such a great comedian, and I've watched you're talking about I've watched every documentary on him. I was a huge Belushi fan. I mean, huge. I know exactly where I was when John Belushi died. And I know Farley was a huge fan too. And he just loved Belushi, and he wanted to be that Belushi guy and be out there and so extreme. But he was he was so many things. Like he would go to party all night long in New York and then go to mass on Sunday morning. And I just thought, like, there is something about this guy. He has such heart. And I think that's why he was so successful. But people, the fat, funny guy, but his ability to pull your heartstrings was amazing. Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing Jamie, the character Jamie Foxx used to do on Living Color, the woman, the unattractive woman. I remember seeing him for the first time, and I'm thinking, this guy's really talented, because you want to cry. Yeah. You're laughing, but you want to cry. because this character's breaking your heart. You know, that's that thing. It's not just pure comedy. It's that other component that kind of pulls an audience in and, you know, catapulted Chris Farley. Because Tommy Boy, to this day, if you're feeling down, watch Tommy Boy. All you'll do is cry your eyes out laughing.
They didn't think anything was going to come of that movie either.
That movie is fat guy in a little coat. I cannot tell you how many times I've said that.
And that's just those guys like this. That's what they did in The Office, right? That's
Right.
what, you know, they all say. Like Lorne Michaels is like, that's just them on camera being themselves,
And supposedly,
and it sells.
And supposedly that was that whole thing was improv. Let me do this bit when fat guy in a little. Oops.
Oh no, I broke it. Yeah. I think he would have gone down. I don't know how he would have adjusted because everybody that worked with him says like he was a great actor. Everybody's just going to look at him like, oh, he's the comedian. He
Right.
was the, you know, quote unquote fat guy. Everybody who knew him was just like, he could have gone on to do amazing things if he believed it himself too.
Yeah, it's addiction's tough. You know, I think we all have friends who've lost their lives to it. It's a terrible thing.
I mean, I'm trying to think like Howard Stern. That guy's been through the ringer and back, I feel like, especially in the entertainment.
But I think to a certain extent he's kind of been smart enough to isolate himself, or should I say his neuroses has isolated himself, you know, so I don't think he's had to deal with other than the issues that he's talked about, you know, those external issues.
Yeah. Do you like that style of like broadcast television better, like the Howard Stern, Joe Rogan side of things, where I feel like more conversations are real and raw? Where like I was saying before, like the Fallons and the Kimmels seem like great guys, but like their shows almost, I mean, they're on national television.
Overproduced,
right?
Yeah, it's so overproduced. I mean, I think in you know, when the Tonight Show started with Jack Parr and then Johnny Carson and then, you know, up to Leno, and then Conan was there for a while. I think audiences were used to that mold, but I don't think a lot of those original audiences are in that place anymore. Because I love Jimmy Fallon, I love Kimmel, and I love that true structure, like the opening monologue and the interviews. But so many of the interviews just feel canned because the people are there to promote something, and we all know that. You know, get that in. But you know, those real conversations you get on Stern. Wow. I mean, some of the stuff that people, you know, like Charlize Theron, when she was talking about, like she was, you know, the guy came on to her, and that you're not going to get that on those other shows, you know. So, but at least we're in a period of time where you can choose the shows you want to watch, or watch both. You know what I mean? You want some cotton candy before you go to sleep. If you want some really deep dive on Rogan or something, that's there too. And you know, I was thinking about this when we were coming over here because, you know, you and I know some of the same people, and it's a lot of very success-oriented people, and, you know, podcasts have become such a major thing. But it's incredible that we live in a time where this could reach millions of people. You know, there's so many great podcasts, there's so much great content that, you know, years ago, like this was literally impossible. There were gatekeepers to those network shows, but now there's this ability to have a studio to put something out and to reach all of these people with your ideas, your opinions, your comedy, your personality. That's pretty amazing. You know, I mean, Kennedy didn't reach as many people as the Joe Rogan podcast.
Nope.
It's pretty impressive that the time that we live in right now. And I always talk about that as far as success. Like we have so many opportunities. There's no excuse not to be successful, but at least try something, you know, get out of the cubicle and make a living doing something that you love.
Exactly.
Like this. You have created this show, and it's a great show, and you have fantastic guests. How many episodes?
614.
Jeez. 614.
Right?
That's incredible.
You just never quit. I mean, we were saying right before, this is the nicest podcast studio in the country for just, I'll use the word amateurs, not that like Chris Van Vliet or, you know, Casey Adams are amateurs, but like, you know, people, anybody can come in here and build their platform, you know, given the right tools and given that they have the right charisma and work ethic to go along with it, you know, because you probably grew up with a ton of people that you look back at now and say like, They could have had their own show back in the day with their
100%.
personality, but it wasn't the
So
thing.
much.
It's like you just worked your 9 to 5 job because that's all that was available,
Right.
unless you went out of your way to work for a big network.
Yeah, and even like I was on the road. I was doing comedy in the mid '90s and stand-up clubs, and there were some really funny, great, engaging people. But there wasn't a platform like this. You went from comedy club to comedy club, and you killed yourself, or you left because you hated it.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever try stand up?
Yeah, I did stand up for a number of years.
Yep.
Yeah,
Did you enjoy it?
No, I hated it.
Yeah.
Hated every,
Yeah.
and it wasn't the performing. The performing was the best part, and I learned a lot, and I learned to be a much better writer and to be tighter. And you've got to get in front of a real audience. And I did everything from postage size stages in South Jersey. I did all the comedy cabarets. I played Bananas. I played the Improv, Catch a Rising Star in Princeton. Did all those clubs. I learned a lot. But the part I didn't like was like driving out to Pittsburgh or I'm not going to mention the clubs, but every single club is different. All the sight lines are different. The sound system is different. The staff is different. It's not like McDonald's, and I mean that in a good way, but everything's different. And the club owners, my joke was, if the club owners could sell food and drinks without you, they would. The last thing they want is the comedian in there, unless you have places like Brad Garrett and Jimmy Kimmel's where you have a comedian-owned place where they love the comedians. But sometimes you're like, and I'm sure you've heard the comedy condo stories, but I've literally stayed in broom closets with a room big enough for like a bed. And after a while, like, this sucks. So I started doing comedy in other venues, and it was great. It turned out great. I think we all have our own road with that, and I definitely wouldn't want to do it now.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many people that consider themselves stand-up comedians these days that are not stand-up comedians.
Right, who've never been in front of a paying audience. I'll tell you, the greatest thing I learned is 8 o'clock show, I come out, I would kill. 10 o'clock show, I bombed. I was like, what just happened?
Yep.
I'm the same guy I was 2 hours ago. So those types of things you learn in front of a live audience at, the Tree House in Mystic, Connecticut, or this place or that place, or there's no substitute for that.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing about like going back to everybody having like their own platform. Like you use this place if they're a part of the Blue Wire network.
Yeah.
Like there's comedians out there that'll put all over their social media bios, like I'm a stand-up comedian. I do this.
Comedian.
Yeah, like you open up for
LA.
one big name. Like I think that's the coolest part about stand-up comedy. If you get into it, I think it's easy if you know your way around to open up for someone big, and that'll make you look really big.
Right.
But in hindsight, you're not. You've done 3 gigs.
Yeah.
It's like
it's a lot of work. I say this all the time. Anybody who's still on the road doing stand-up, who's a road comic, who's earned their stripes, I give those guys massive credit, massive credit. What people don't understand is when you are doing stand up, and I'm like the lowest. I did it for a very limited amount of time. But what people don't understand is like if I was a featured act, I headlined once or twice, but your life boils down to that 30 minutes in that day. That's it. I mean, your entire life. If your set bombs, you want to kill yourself, and if you kill it, it's like heroin, and that's why you keep going back and keep going back. And that's the beauty of it. And you learn so much, and you learn from audiences, and you have those hecklers who just won't shut the hell up. The worst ones are the ones who want to help you. They're thinking they're helping. I remember I was doing the Comedy Factory outlet in Bristol, Pennsylvania. I was like, this guy's just killing me. Even the people at his own tape are like, shut up.
It's like someone comes up to you after, by the bar after the show too. They're just like, "Come here, kid. I got a few pointers.
I got a joke for you."
Yeah, seriously. Like, I think you gave credit to a lot of guys, like the Chappelles of the world. Bill Burr was one of those guys.
He's still Bill Burr. He's a perfect example.
Like, there's a lot of his jokes that didn't go over the first 100 times that he told them.
Right.
He kept at it. He kept making tweaks, and then eventually, I think after like the 4 or 5 year mark, there was someone just like, "You got something special going on. Like, keep going."
Have you ever seen the thing in Philly where he's like just 10 minutes?
Rant, yeah.
Oh my, it's God! Like that's when like this guy is the real deal.
Like that was the moment.
Yeah,
right?
he will not. I mean, he can't be booed off that stage. He can't be dragged off this stage. He has something to say, and it's funny. And you're just like, I couldn't do that.
That's where his personality came out too. It's like you're getting booed out of the building.
Yeah.
And he's just like, you know what? Like just a fired up adrenaline Bostonian that's just like, all right, fuck you. Fuck
you
the
guys.
Liberty Bell.
Yeah, I mean,
Throws the
literally,
mic
he
down.
was like forged. Like, you know, they like forging metal. You can see why he is so good to this day. And, you know, people like Chappelle and then even new people that I say new, but like someone like Sebastian Maniscalco, who's just like this guy is just like, has command. He just played here, like these huge audiences. It's really impressive. I'm just blown away by that.
I think I got the chance right before he died to interview Bob Saget. And I think he was backstage at the Bill Burr Philly rant. And Bill like went backstage. He was just like, oh, I completely bombed. And Bob was just like, what are you talking about? Like, that's the, like, you're going to remember this. This is it.
Right.
Like, this is the moment that's going to change your career.
This is legendary. People are talking about it right now on a show here in Las Vegas, talking about comedians. Like that's what you want.
And Sebastian's one of those guys too. I think he like signed a year-long deal here. He's performing here at the Win all year long. He's one of those guys that's like you either love him or hate him too.
Yeah. And I read his book, and I had to reread the page because I've been doing. I started the first time I did stand up. I was 12 years old. You know, I was doing sketch and improv and all these things. But I was 12 years old, and I went to my sister's. I did a George Carlin bit from my sisters. They were all high. There was like, I don't know, 75, 76, whatever year it was. But they were like, "What's you doing?" But I just remember, like, you just want to get in front of an audience. You want to do you just have to. It's like this, it's this thing inside of you. But in Sebastian's book, when I read it, he said he'd never done stand-up before he moved to L.A. I thought, he must be crazy. I mean, like, he was so clear in his intentions to move from Chicago to L.A. to be a comedian, but had not yet done stand-up. I was just, and then his career was like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone's stand-up career take off so fast, other than like Kevin Hart, someone like him, like to that like next level, like insane, like arena.
Well, it's funny because like even Kevin Hart, like I'll go back and be flipping through the channels and I'll see like those scary movies with him and Anthony Anderson. I'm just like, oh my God, that's Kevin Hart. Like you don't even realize like that's Kevin Hart before Kevin Hart. And then I feel like I didn't even know that about Sebastian, that he didn't do stand-up. I mean, because his stand-up is so unique, his mannerisms, the way he's able to use his body to tell some of the jokes.
Yeah, he's very theatrical. And I love, you know, someone who's worked as an actor. I watch him, I'm thinking like, this guy, he is, and he turned up in what was the movie, not Goodfellas.
Oh, The Irishman.
The Irishman. He was
awesome.
Awesome. And I'm thinking he's going to be in a lot of movies.
Oh, it wasn't even a cameo. Like that was a legitimate role. He was in that movie for like a good hour and a half.
Yeah, and he played a really important part in the New York mob scene. So he's just incredibly talented.
I remember him telling stories about he's like, I'm there with Pesci, I'm there with Pacino, I'm there with De Niro, I'm there with Martin Scorsese, and they're all having these meetings during our scenes. And he's just like, should I be in those meetings? He's just standing there in the room, just like, the amateur, like his first big acting role.
And he's in that film with those guys, you know, and he's had such a meteoric rise. It's so incredible. I don't know. Maybe because he's Italian, he's Chicago Italian, and I'm Philadelphian Italian, and, you know, you connect with that. But obviously he's connecting with a lot of people that aren't Italian. So
I think Burr's one of those guys too. He had like the Breaking Bad role. He's done a lot of like really big cameo roles in big shows.
Yeah.
He was like one of those guys. He's like, you don't want to be the guy with the boat. You want to be the guy who has the friend that has the boat. Then you show up like the hero with the six-pack. And
because then he only has to work like 4 days on the project. There's the next 4 days on the project, 4 days. And he ends up having this resume of all of these incredible things. He popped up on the Nick Kroll show playing like a cop. And I was like, Bill Burr is everywhere. He's everywhere. You know,
some of those guys don't even want to be that guy that's just popping up everywhere, just like making an appearance. Like, here I am. You know, it's like when I'm promoting something, I'll do something. But it's like there's some people out there that are like David Spade. I think he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite comedic actors, to be honest with you. He's always on the late night shows. I'm like, what? Is he just hanging out, or is he promoting something?
Well, he always has great stories. I think he was on James Corden recently, and he told this fantastic story. And that's the beauty of a lot of these working comedians who are just coming in and they're not necessarily promoting something, but they'll just like, I went to the Whole Foods and like this happened and you're just in tears because they're able to take like the simple story and really make it funny. And that's, Tim Allen does that. All these great comedians are able to do that.
Mm-hmm. I love the Tim Allen stories about Tom Hanks and Toy Story. He's just like, he got away with everything because he's Tom Hanks.
Tim did okay. He did all right.
What would be like the one acting role that you think that when you look at on TV that's already been done? There's a lot of actors out there that look at specific roles. You're like, I could have done that.
Yeah. It's so funny because people always say to me, they're always like, anything Michael Chiklis did, you should have done. You could have been the commish. You could have done this. And I'm watching, was it Game Time? The one about the Lakers?
Oh,
yeah.
Winning Time.
Winning Time. And I'm watching him play the owner of the GM of the owner of the Boston Celtics. And I'm thinking, I could play that. I'm ready, and I'm ready to get cast in a small film to start shooting here in June, and I'm really looking forward to like just doing some acting again.
Because it's a completely different animal.
Totally different animal. We had a great read through of the script. It's a really dark story.
But don't you love those as an actor?
Yeah.
Like you can literally just take the caution tape and just throw it out the window.
Well,
right?
it's almost like what, you mentioned Breaking Bad, and you watch Breaking Bad, and there were points where I was like, I have to turn this off. Mm-hmm. It's so dark. It's because you're going to those dark places. Because you always put it to you, would I do that? Would I let this person die? And you watch Cranston's performance, and you just, everybody on that show, everybody went to these really dark places, and I'm so impressed with that. And this thing is very dark. Like somebody dies, and we have to cover it up in the beginning, and that's the whole. It's supposed to be. It's a pilot for a series, so it'll be fun to work on that, And if it doesn't go as a pilot, they said they'll do it as a standalone film.
Do you think films or series like that are better to work on?
I would love a steady gig right now. Because as a performer, you're just jobbing it. And I'm very lucky. Like, I get a call and I'm on Howard Stern. And when I used to be on Conan, obviously Conan's not on anymore. It's so exciting to get those calls. And I work on the road. I do a lot of corporate work. So I'm on the road like a week at a time. Last year I was on the road 22 weeks, and I tried to do some comedy here at Notoriety. Are you familiar with Notoriety? So Notoriety here, The Space. I was working with like Sarah Hester Ross, who's an amazing female comedian and musician. So I'm always trying to get in front of a live audience. I need to do that. If it's a corporate audience, that's great. If it's a ticketed audience, that's great, because I'm, working on Trump stuff and different characters and whatever it is. I did a one-man show a year ago, March, and it was the tremendous Trump spectacular. So it was just like one day in the life of Trump, and it was very funny. And I had some great friends help me, in that show, and some great singers and some great dancers, because we wanted to make it entertaining. Yep. That's what it had to be,
Have you ever gotten feedback from Donald Trump himself yet?
Yeah, I've worked for him 3 times, but this goes way back. The very first professional thing I did was for him. That was 2004, because the first season of The Apprentice had just ended, and I got a call from one of my New York agents, and she knew I always like to work on more difficult voices, and she said, "Are you doing Trump yet?" And this was a Friday, and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, he's in my head," because I'd met him in 1990. I'd done a show at Trump Plaza in Atlantic City, and she said, "Well, could you do an audition on Monday? Do you feel strong enough for that?" And I said, "Yeah, I could do an audition on Monday." So I ran out and went to Barnes and Noble. Remember those? And I bought the DVD set of the first season of The Apprentice, which was 30 hours of material, and I watched it, very closely, and I just thought it was interesting, because when it was Trump explaining something, it was like, "Blue team, green team, today you're going to sell lemonade." And I thought, okay, that's staccato New York thing. He's obviously reading a prompter, because you're seeing his back, not his face. But on that first season, 2 people kind of fell in love. And the bonus materials. So you two are very attracted to each other, right? I mean, she is attractive. You have to admit, right? So you guys are having like a little romance. Is that what? And I thought, that's it. That's the way in. It's just curiosity. That's the way I always thought it was so fun. Those type of things. Because when he's not scripted, I think he's much more interesting. So I went in and I got that, and then they told me it was for Trump, and it was the boardroom game at Taj Mahal.
Oh yeah.
Instead of The Apprentice, because he never made a deal with NBC to call it that. So it was the boardroom game. So I sat in a studio in Princeton, New Jersey, and just recorded like hundreds of words, hundreds of phrases, full sentences. You guys were absolutely fantastic, but unfortunately, blue team, you're horrible, you're fired. Green team, you've won buffet at the tremendous Trump Taj Mahal buffet. It was stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun. And on stage, they had like a Carolyn Kepcher, if you remember the first season, and a George Ross, who I got to meet later on. And so that was a lot of fun. And then 2 years later, Trump was supposed to be on Fox and Friends. This is 2006. It's a long time ago. But he was unavailable. So they called me again. They said, you're doing full makeup Trump, right? Now, yeah, I got the wig and the ties and the suits and everything else. Says we need you to do an appearance because he's supposed to be doing an appearance today, the following day on Fox and Friends.
So they didn't even want it to be like a parody. They wanted you to actually
they wanted me in the chair on Fox and Friends talking about this cross promotion between Embassy Suites and The Apprentice. So I did that, and they said, stay. So I ended up doing like 3 segments because they could tell I was into it. I was improvising. I was doing the voice, and it was a blast. It was a blast. So that was the second time, and then there was a third time I had to do a voiceover for something.
Yeah, and it's crazy because we talked about Travis Chappell a little bit earlier,
yes,
right?
Travis is
and Dinner Party and everything that he's got going on. You were talking a little bit about how he's got like a little bit of Christopher Walken in him. When you were like discovering the voice, the impression.
Well, when Trump announced, what I like to do is I believe in Kazan. Mm-hmm. You're familiar with Kazan? Kazan. So I always like to, I always want to be constantly improving and not just doing an impression of an impression. I remember one time I was doing Austin Powers somewhere, baby, and I was thinking, wait a minute, I'm doing an impression of an impression of an impression, because it was my impression. So I thought, I have to go back to the source material, watch Mike Myers, do all those things, and put a little Liverpool in there like he does. And I thought, Trump's announced things are going to take off. Let me go retool this. Let me really make sure I'm doing this right. Mm-hmm. And one of the things was, I started notating voices. Where is he from? He's from Queens. And I'm like, well, who else is from Queens? Because Trump's speak is unique. And I thought, wow, Christopher Walken is from Queens, and he's got the staccato. And then I just folded that into Trump to make sure I had the staccato. So, all voices are built on other voices so you can remember them because you have to notate, like, what am I doing? And Trump's very complex because it's that throat mm-hmm. placement. It's the nasal placement. Because you and I are from the same part of the world. Yep. So we have this, it's called a hard onset. So when we speak, the front of the word is always out first. If you go to other parts of the country, it's not like that. It's in the middle and the back of the word. So Northeast United States is very nasal. We're naturally nasal. So it doesn't matter if you're from New Jersey, all of New Jersey, Philadelphia, New York, Connecticut. You get up to Boston. We're all pretty much the same with the nasality. So you want to have that nasality. Then with Trump, you want that over enunciation that he does, and then he pulls his voice in, and then he's really big. So you want to take all those unique things about bing bong, bung bing, bing bong. You want to have all those elements in there. I don't want to just do like a one-dimensional any voice that I do. I don't want it just to be those things that you hear because that's when it's just an impression. Mm-hmm. I want to. If I'm going to be on stage for 45 minutes as Trump,
you have to be him.
I have to be him. I have to think. as him. If I'm doing a Q&A with an audience after I've completed the scripted part, I need to be in his head. And I trained in New York as an actor, and I want to inculcate all those things into whatever character I'm doing. If this show that I'm working on, Fractured Turnstiles, or playing Trump, I want to be able to have whoever I'm playing, Trump's 75. I was going to say 25-year-old grandfather. Wait a minute, that's Trump. But whatever those elements, I want that built in so I can just be the character and not have to think about it, do the performance, but be able to know the character so well. Like, yourself, how you're going to react to something, So to be able to handle it that way, that means a lot to me. And that, I did 12 appearances on Today in Australia, and they were so great. Like, they would give me 6 minutes. I mean, that's insane. 6, and sometimes I would actually be sweating and like, I need 6 new, because I would do 6 more new minutes of material. So I'd have to write it all out and do the bit, and then they'd hit me with questions. And you're on a weird delay because they're on the other side of the world. So you want to fill the time, and you just want to be able to do this. So it's not that you're on autopilot, but it's so natural and it comes to you naturally. That's what I try to do with all of these. But obviously with Trump, these last few years, it's been like all the time.
Yeah.
So to perfect the character where I could just come on and either do something super authentic. I've actually done a number of documentaries where I've had to fill in his voice for stuff they don't have. And they were like, we really wanted to be as authentic as possible. And I'll go back and, he speaks the way he speaks, but I don't want to do it to the point where it's like comedic. So it's like, bring the tone down a little bit so it really sounds like him. And when they drop this in a scene, you're going to think it's him,
Oh, yeah, because since 2016, that's when it took off for you, but that's when so many other impersonators came out, right?
Everybody jumped.
And to your
board.
point, they're just finding the funny things, that they see on Fox
I used some people do Trump like that. I'm not a Trump and everything. I understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're just zeroing in on one thing. It's more of a caricature, but I want to be able to play him. And, that's why I have the wigs and the makeup and the contacts. I wish I had your eyes, to play him right. And I'll buy the real Trump suits and the real Trump ties and the real, the really nice shirts and the elevator shoes, since I'm only 5'8", but when I'm on stage, you can't tell, so I want to do all those things. And that's the acting part of it. Do everything you can to not pull the audience out of this, this suspension of disbelief, and that's any theater. That's any theater. You want to minimize all those things. You're like, wait a minute, we're not in Antarctica in a hut. You want to make it as believable as possible.
Have you heard Jamie Foxx's impression?
Yeah, it's really good. It kind of went viral.
I'm like, oh my God.
Is there anything that guy can't do?
To me, I don't know how he does it. He's the most talented man in the universe.
Yeah.
In my opinion, when it comes to singing, rapping, comedy, acting,
piano playing.
Yeah.
The guy
businessman.
The guy's on another planet. And when you look at that performance in Ray, you're like, wow, this guy's really good. And every now and then somebody comes along. I don't know if you ever saw Collateral with Tom Cruise.
No.
And him. He's just playing, he's playing older. He's probably playing 20 years older than he actually is. And there's not 1 second where you doubt it. There's not 1 second where you doubt that he doesn't have a lot of self-confidence. Probably the most confident man on earth. And I'm not talking about Tom Cruise. I'm talking about Jamie Foxx. So confident, but his performance, and it's a lot of close-ups because they're in a cab. It's all in his face. It's all in his face, and it's so good. And it's like one of these guys who are like, put out another movie, man. Like, do something because you're so good. And that's why I think one of the things is he's so talented and he's so funny. And when he did the Trump impression, that's why it went viral. But people love this guy. He needs to be putting out more stuff.
Okay, his energy is infectious.
Yeah.
You see him at those round tables with people, and he just wants to interject any chance. He's just ready. He's got 3 cups of coffee. They're like, Adam Sandler, so Uncut Gems, that was a different role for him. Jamie Foxx is like, not to interrupt, not to take away from your time, but I love that scene when I'm like, Like you could just tell, like his energy is infectious. He loves doing it. While there's some people who love doing it, but at the same time, sometimes it's a job. You know, your energy's not up. You're traveling from city to city to city, and Jamie Foxx is just always ready to go, like in the best mindset, looking dressed to the nines. Doesn't even matter. Like it could be jeans and a t-shirt. He wears it way better than everybody else in the room. Like he's unbelievable.
And that goes beyond talent. He's just one of those guys, you know.
Yeah. And then to wrap this up, we're gonna have to have you back on too.
Yeah.
I have like a ton I want to ask you about. Part 2 for sure, because we went on about Bill Burr and
we were
Sebastian and like all these other guys that are just phenomenal. You growing up back east,
right?
We talked a little bit about you've been out in Vegas 10, 11 years now.
I've been here 12 years this May.
12 years this May. And what can you say to people looking to move out here? Like,
you know, if you're looking to move here,
some people say they love it who live here. I've heard it from multiple people, but then there's the stigma of Las Vegas that kind of scares people away.
Well, you know, it's literally like any place, because you know you go to New Orleans and like you don't live on Bourbon Street. You know, you don't live on the Strip unless you're really wealthy, because I have some friends who do live on the Strip. But this is a fantastic place to live. What a lot of people don't realize is it's actually a very conservative town, because the town was actually developed by the Mormons. So everyone thinks about the gambling and the strippers and the this thing and the that thing, but it's actually a really amazing place to live. It's probably the most thought out place to live. I live in Henderson. It's like the largest master plan community in the United States. Like the services here are amazing. I think the road work, everything you think about that you wouldn't think about as a tourist, but as you think about as a resident here, this is a great place to live. Mm-hmm. You know, everything is here in a very small, this is the smallest town I've ever lived in the sense that socially you literally run into everybody who lives here. And some very famous people live here, and you're at a party like, is that Nick Cage? What is that?
You run into Nick Cage at a party?
Well, at the gym. But
I've
run into some very famous people who aren't necessarily like in my circle. And it's amazing. Like they're like right there. And so it's a very, very small town socially. It's a small town geographically, but if you want to live in a place that gives you everything, you want cheap food, it's here. You want celebrity chefs, it's here. Any musical artist you can think of will pass through this town at some point. Low cost of living, no state income tax, roads that are 6 lanes wide. They're constantly adding something. So if you want to live in a cottage and read books, this might not be the town, but you can do that too, because you can live in Mount Charleston where it snows, and a lot of people don't realize when it's very hot here, and it does get very hot, but you can go to Mount Charleston, it's 20 degrees cooler, and the snow's on the ground sometimes until April. If you want to get away, if you live here and you want to get away, and everybody lives in New York, Philadelphia, Boston, all these places, hey, I want to get on. You could be, the airport's in the town, and you can literally go anywhere from here. And one morning you want to get up early and have breakfast on the beach in LA, get up at 5:30 and you're having breakfast in Venice at 10 a.m. I mean, I can't say enough about this town. And obviously I'm a performer and a comedian, and there's a great entertainment community here that's really supportive, but I think all the communities here are really supportive.
And it's really cool to have people here, like, not necessarily in your inner circle, but like you said, like you basically know everybody. Like you run into people you see all the time, which is, I feel like, a community you want to be a part of.
Yeah, I've never experienced this, and maybe because my fiance Michelle is just really, she's been here for 29 years and knows everybody and is on a couple of boards. But this is a great town, and obviously a great sports town. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've got the Golden Knights, and the Raiders are here, and NBA is coming, and we're gonna have Major League Baseball soon, allegedly. It's we keep reading, but
the expansion's coming.
Yeah, so I can't say enough. I can't say enough here. Just when you come here, look around, you'll find your tribe somewhere in this town.
What do you think is the greatest, because there is an exact answer for this that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
What is the best part of New Jersey?
What is the
best
part?
Like aspect of New Jersey, I should say.
The best aspect of New Jersey? For me, it was always, I spent my summers in Ocean City, New Jersey. So the shore towns to me are like magical places.
Yeah, the shores down like over the summer for sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking the Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwich. That's the only thing that I'll take away from growing up there. I'm like, if we have anything, we have that sandwich.
Right.
The pork roll, Taylor ham, egg, and cheese.
There used to be a pork roll place on the Ocean City boardwalk. That's why I'm laughing, because it's so funny. I haven't heard anyone mention pork roll in so long. That's so funny.
Because you don't call it that anywhere else.
Right.
You
Well,
have a Taylor ham, like, oh,
yeah.
what the hell are you, a pork roll?
Yeah, that's so funny. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. It's an interesting state. Half of it belongs to New York, and the southern half belongs to Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
So-
We're right in the middle.
right in the
I always-
middle.
if I'm never going to have an interaction with someone again, they're just like, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from New York.
Right.
New York. Yeah.
It's just easier. I even say I'm from Philadelphia, and a lot of times I say New York because I spent so many years there before I moved here. You know. So, and it's another thing. If you're thinking about moving here, there's tons of New Yorkers, tons of Philadelphians, tons of New Jerseyans, tons of Chicagoans. Like everybody, a lot of people are here.
And that's what I love about Arizona and California, just out west in general, is that so many different diverse people.
Yeah.
You know, we're back east. It's, you know, like your entire neighborhood stays.
Yeah, it's pretty
Right?
much, yeah, and there isn't a lot of movement, you know, and that's, you know, and that's fine. But if you want to break out, you want to move on, you want to experience life a little differently, this might be a perfect place to move to.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Yeah,
The last thing I want you to do, that camera right there is your camera. Give us some sort of golden nugget. I want it as Morgan Freeman to end the show.
Morgan Freeman. Well, I just want to say, Andy, hold on, let me. What's a golden nugget? Oh, well, in Shawshank Prison, life is like a pinball game. If you don't move your flippers, you'll lose your balls.
John D. Domenico, you are a genius, my friend.
Oh,
I
thanks,
appreciate you coming on the show today, guys. This was episode 614 of the podcast.
14.
Remember to head to our YouTube channel, Jack O'Hara TV. Like, comment, and subscribe. Check it out, guys. That's awesome. I'm like, who am I going to put him on the spot as?
Yeah,
Is
you
it going
put
to
me on
be
the spot.
Morgan? I was
Because I
thinking.
usually do him